Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. My name is Aaron Machbitz. This is episode 3 of the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show, obviously sponsored by my performance brand, Champions Adjust, where we have performance apparel for the everyday athlete. We have mindset programs, online courses, and we release a podcast episode every single day, just a short clip on your mindset, on your mental skills, and then we do this show every single week. So let's jump right in to the most pressing news of the day in terms of sports. We have the college football playoffs about an hour ago. The rankings and the brackets came out. So let's see what those look like. And I'll give you my take on SMU and Alabama and all these sorts of things. So here we go. We got it right here. And we look at this bracket and I don't know, man. I think like you have Oregon's number 1, Georgia number 2, Boise State number 3, Arizona State number 4, Texas 5. Then you have who's number 6? Penn State number 6, and then you have Notre Dame 7, Ohio State 8, Tennessee 9, Indiana 10, SMU 11, and Clemson 12. You had that big game last night, SMU and Clemson. Really, the only debate here going into this 12-team bracket was since SMU lost and they didn't get that automatic bid, Clemson got it. Now, should Alabama be in? I think if you look at numerous things, Alabama overall is the better football team than SMU, but SMU obviously had a great year. They were 0-2, though, against top 25 teams. I think their biggest win maybe was like against Duke. And then you have Alabama, who had a great strength of schedule. I think the difference was Alabama's strength of schedule was 15 and SMU's strength of schedule was 60. And SMU lost 2 games and Alabama lost 3 games. I think that has to be taken into consideration. I think overall, if you want the absolute best 12 teams to be represented in this playoff, especially the first year of the college football playoff, I really think you got to have Alabama in there. I know that SMU played an amazing game last night versus Clemson. They lost in a last-second field goal. I get that. I understand that. But Clemson won, so they're automatically in. Now, I know, before even the championship game happened, that Clemson or SMU was ranked 8 and Alabama was ranked like 11th or 12th. So if you really think Alabama should have been in, you can make the argument that the ranking should have been higher and SMU should have been out, and they have to win that ACC championship to get that automatic bid. But they lost, and I still think you have to look at it with a fresh set of eyes. But I just think Alabama should have been in. I think they're a better football team. I makes for the overall bracket much more intense because then you could see, potentially Alabama and Georgia facing off again, or you could have had Alabama as the 12th seed and they could face Texas in the first round. Like a lot of those matchups are really, really intriguing and really cool for a college football playoff. Now I could, be proven totally wrong. SMU could make a deep run in this playoff bracket, and that would be cool. I'm from Dallas. SMU is right around the corner, so that'd be awesome. But you have Arizona State, Oregon, and Boise State getting those first round buys. I think Georgia has a chance to make a good run. I think Texas has a chance to make a good run. If I had to pick right now who I think is going to be in the national championship, I would go Oregon versus Georgia. That would be a really good national championship. Oregon versus Georgia. I don't know if Beck is healthy or not, what his status is, but Oregon's been playing great all year, obviously. I don't think they've lost a game. They're the number 1 seed. A lot of pressure on them. But I would love to see Oregon versus Georgia in the national championship. That'd be a great game. And so that's really all I have to say about the college football playoff. This is the first year they're doing it, so it's cool. There's always going to be these debates about 11, 12, 13 seed and strength of schedule and number of losses and all these sorts of things. But if strength of schedule doesn't actually matter, then okay, let's just play all of these slapdick teams and we'll go 12-0 and we'll should be put in, right? But strength of schedule has to matter. Your conference has to matter. And the way you win games has to matter. And your big wins have to matter, and beating top 25 teams have to matter. And obviously, the college football selection committee took all of these things into consideration. They did a great job. They picked SMU. Cheers to them. Those are just my thoughts on it. But without that, like the real college football that we should be caring about is my South Dakota State University Jackrabbits in the FCS. They won yesterday. They had a first round bye. They're the 3 seed, should have been the 1 seed, but whatever. and they advance to the third round next week in the FCS playoff. They're going for a three-peat. South Dakota State Jackrabbits going for a three-peat. My alumni played baseball there. Absolutely love the Jackrabbits. One of the best schools in the country and one of the best football programs in the country under Jimmy Rogers. They're doing amazing. They're going to the third round next week. They will host December 14th. They will host Incarnate Ward, who also had a really good year. I think they were 11-2. But the Jacks are going for a three-peat. They're going for a three-peat. And obviously the monkey's on them. The pressure is on them. People are coming for them. But they got a monster defense. They just attack the football. And they got a really, really strong quarterback who's been to the dance a bunch of times, right? I think he's obviously he's won back-to-back national championships. He's won player of the year. Like, he knows how to do it in crunch time. That team knows how to do it in crunch time. Absolutely love the Jackrabbits. That's what we should be talking about, not this Alabama SMU bullshit. We should be talking about the South Dakota State Jackrabbits going for a three-peat. Now, if they make it to the fourth round, I think that's the semifinals, and so does North Dakota State. That's a huge, huge monster mashup. They had a really intense battle in the middle of the year. I think it was a very low-scoring game. So I'd love to see South Dakota State and North Dakota State duke it out and potentially face the number one seed. And it happens to be in Frisco, Texas, right around the corner from where I live. So I absolutely love when the Jacks come to town. We take over the city of Frisco. It's a real beautiful experience. And so I think that's all I got for you on sort of the college football vibe. Really, all we should be caring about, again, is South Dakota State Jackrabbits. But sticking with the football theme, going into our next topic is the NFL. Last week on this show, I made the pitch that Joe Burrow should be an NFL MVP candidate, but since his team is playing so poorly, he's not really in consideration. So I'm going to talk about Joe Burrow a little bit. Then we're going to talk about the hit on Lawrence and Tom Brady's perspective. Then we're going to go into the NFL MVP race and who's ahead heading into after week 13, heading into week 14, which is literally happening right now as I speak. And so here is some stats from Joe Burrow, right? I talked about him being an NFL MVP candidate in the month of November. Saw Joe Burrow make NFL history by becoming the first player to record at least 50 passing attempts, 350 passing yards, and 3 touchdown passes while throwing 0 interceptions in consecutive games. He has over 3,000 passing yards. I think he has 30 touchdown passes and only 5 interceptions. I mean, that's a monster year from the man, Joe Burrow, who I absolutely love, who's a fantastic quarterback. Yes, it sucks his team doesn't have a defense or a running game, so his team, I think, is statistically out of the playoff race, so we won't see Big Joe in the playoffs. But I can guarantee that at some point, the Bengals and Joe Burrow are going to win a Super Bowl. He's going to win an NFL MVP. He's having a monster year, and that has to be noted because guys have really good seasons all of the time, and their teams aren't that great. I mean, you could look at Mike Trout, right, for the Los Angeles Angels. They don't really make the playoffs ever, but Mike Trout is one of the best baseball players to ever exist, multiple MVPs, all of that stuff. Shohei Ohtani got out of there, went to the Dodgers, won a World Series right away. Maybe Mike Trout needs to do the same because you just love to see great players in playoffs, doing great, performing at the highest level when the lights are the brightest, right? You love to see them play great in the regular season, fires us all up, but why not? Boom, you want to see them get after it in the playoffs when it matters most, winning those rings, elevating their teammates, all that stuff that the best players in the world do. And I just want to mark on that Joe Burrow is having a fantastic season, and he should be celebrated for that. Even though it's team sports, we do celebrate individual accomplishments. Then also last week we saw this gnarly hit on Lawrence. And since I never played football at a very competitive level, I only played in middle school, 7th and 8th grade, so I have no real knowledge of the actual ins and outs of football. I just talk about what I see, and as a sports guy and a really high level athlete in a different sport, I can sort of pick apart the mindset and things of that nature. But I was never absolutely smoked. Well, I'll give you one short story about how I was absolutely smoked when I was playing quarterback in 8th grade. I was like the second string B team quarterback, and I do a little fake handoff looking for my guy. He's wide open, and before I throw it, I get just absolutely smoked in the back, go right down. In my mind, I don't know if this is what actually happened, but I tell this story where my mom sprinted on the field. She grabbed me by my collar, carried me off the field, threw me into the car, and drove me to the emergency room. I was fine. Everything was good. But in my head, she was just like superhuman, grabbed me, wanted to save me, cared about her baby boy, and then took me to the emergency room. My football career was pretty much over at that point. And so I know a little bit about it, right? And then my buddy Tyler, who's a huge football guy, has great insight on that. Talk to him a lot about what's going on. And so get a little bit of insight from him and what I hear from people who talk about it. And so what I say that is the hit on Lawrence was gnarly, but I'm going to take some advice and credence from my buddy Tom Brady, who said that he suggests that quarterbacks should be fined or penalized for sliding late in order to deter defensive players' late hits on the signal callers, right? And so we saw that Brady made these remarks on Colin Cowherd's show on Fox Sports very shortly after the news broke that the Houston Texans linebacker was suspended 3 games following his late hit on Trevor Lawrence. We hope that Trevor Lawrence is okay and all is good, right? The brain is very, very, very serious, and we want to be able to take care of that. We saw what happened to Dolphins QB Tua, quite a bit, and we want to make sure that he's okay, and we want to make sure Trevor Lawrence is okay. But there are things that quarterbacks have to be able to do to protect themselves, and that's something that Tom Brady was speaking about. I mean, this guy played for 20 years in the NFL, and nothing like this really happened to him because he tried to take care of himself. And I think that's really important when we're trying to keep these great players healthy for long periods of time so we can see them shine on the football field in their domain of excellence. And Tom Brady's right. And so there should be a penalization on both sides, like late slides and all these sorts of things, and quarterbacks not protecting themselves, because that's the point. Like, if you're in the middle of the field, you're now a runner. You're a runner and you're going to get freaking smoked, just like running backs and wide receivers do all the time. So quarterbacks need to learn how to do that. And this is just according to Tom Brady. I'm not really sharing my personal insights on this. I'm sharing Tom Brady's insights on this. And I think I would trust him as a reliable source when it comes to these sorts of things. And so that's really all I got on that. Now let's jump into the NFL MVP. This is a great conversation here because I talked about Joe Burrow, who's not really in the conversation, but having an absolutely monster year. And so are these guys. Right now we have like 4 cats in the running after week 13, heading into week 14. Obviously, there's still a few more weeks left for guys to shine and people to take over the mantle. But Josh Allen is the undisputed favorite right now to win the regular season MVP after an absolutely electrifying showing in week 13. Probably another electrifying showing in week 14. The dude got engaged on his bye week. Like, he's just absolutely crushing it. Cheers to Josh Allen. The Bills are looking good. I think it'll be Bills, Lions in the Super Bowl, which I think that just a casual fan of the NFL will be super fired up about. Both of those fan bases are absolutely deserving of a Super Bowl win. Both those quarterbacks, the coaches, like all of them. And so I think it would be really cool to see both of those teams go head to head in the Super Bowl. Obviously, you're going to feel really bad for what team that loses, because both of them, really deserve that Super Bowl win, just because the fan base is the atmosphere, what you want for those quarterbacks and their careers and their history as players and all those sorts of things are really quite important. And so I'd love to see that. And I think we will. I think there's a good chance we will, unless, like always, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just fucking violently turn it on in the playoffs and dominate everyone. But you never know. And then the Eagles on the other side are playing really, really well, even though I said last week I think they're going to fumble it, but they might not, because of one man who's, second, very, very close second in the NFL MVP running. That's Saquon Barkley. Because you saw in the battle of MVP candidates, it was Barkley who got the last laugh, as he pushed the Eagles to 10-2 into their 8th straight win by knocking off the Ravens. The Pro Bowl back notched his 3rd straight 100-yard rushing game and 8th of the year to push his running total to 1,499 yards, which is 1st in the league. And he also leads the league in yards from scrimmage to go with his 13 total touchdowns. But what's really interesting is to break Eric Dickerson's vaunted single-season rushing record of 2,105 yards, Barkley needs to average 121.2 rushing yards per game over the final 5 games. Now, if he does that, and the Eagles continue this push, he might potentially overtake Josh Allen as the front runner for the MVP. But those guys are neck and neck. They're carrying their teams. Could see a Bills, Eagles Super Bowl, right? Eagles got to probably get past the Lions. They got to get over their playoff woes, but having Saquon Barkley, someone who can run the football consistently, will help take the pressure off Hurts. So it's very interesting going into there. And then you have Lions, right? You have Jared Goff, who's another MVP type candidate, having an MVP season, and he has the 11-1 Lions, maybe the best team in the NFL. They got freaking Dan Campbell, who's the man, and Goff is a major contributor, obviously, to that team. Detroit, they finally won on Thanksgiving. They got that monkey off their back. Now maybe they can get to the Super Bowl and win that and get that monkey off their back. Goff has been strong all season, right? The former number one overall pick is second in the NFL with completion percentage and passer rating, and he ranks in the top 10 in passing yards and touchdown passes. And so he is doing well, right? I think Goff's best shot at winning MVP could be by leading Detroit to a 16-1 regular season. Doing that would mean taking wins over playoff contenders in the Packers, in the Bills, in the Vikings in the process. 16-1 is a massive regular season, and I think maybe that pushes him a little bit closer to the MVP race. I don't think it wins it, especially if Allen and Saquon Barkley continue to do what they're doing. But you can't ignore a 16-1 season from the team's leader and quarterback. And so Jared Goff is doing the damn thing. And here, we love the Lions because we love Dan Campbell. Again, I'd love to see the Bills and Lions in the Super Bowl. And then, of course, you can't leave out Lamar Jackson, who's already a two-time NFL MVP, an absolute fucking stud. And you want to see him do well in the playoffs, too. Like, if you're a fan of football and you're a fan of greatness, like, you want to see Lamar Jackson do awesome in the playoffs. And so obviously, you can't rule out the Ravens. You can't rule out just some of those studs they have on their team with Henry and Jackson. Like, if they can get past some of these big dogs, they can obviously be a Super Bowl contender as well. But they got to put it all together in the right moments, just like the Eagles. But you can't count out Lamar Jackson. He's too good. He's already an NFL MVP twice, like just monster stuff from him. And so he can always change the game in an instant, and he can be the guy that propels them into the Super Bowl and potentially has them winning. But again, I think it's Bills, Lions. But those are the front runners for the MVP. We'll have to see what happens in week 14 all the way through the end of the season, and I'll keep you updated every week on that. But that's just my take and a few things that I think are important going into that. Now, for the real juice, my real favorite stuff, Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is heating up. We got the winter meeting starting soon, and they happen to be here in Dallas. I'm going to go crash those and make sure Juan Soto stays with the New York Yankees because I think that's best for baseball. But there's a lot going on there. And before we get into some of the trades and acquisitions and some Juan Soto juice that happened throughout the week, got to mention this thing that I saw about Rob Manfred saying, he's the commissioner of baseball, saying that there's buzz, quote unquote, around adding a golden at-bat rule to Major League Baseball. This rule would allow a team to choose one at-bat in every game to use their best hitter, regardless of where they're at in the lineup. This is so fucking dumb. So dumb. Stop. Stop with this nonsense about trying to change the game of baseball. Baseball is fun and amazing and one of the best sports on the planet because of the rules and constraints we have. This is for Little League. This is for men's league. This is for horseshit, non-competitive baseball. These are Major League Baseball players, 1 through 9 in the lineup, are really good and can get it done. And so you don't want to I don't know what his thought process is, like trying to make the game more exciting because Aaron Judge just struck out and now he can come back up. Like, no, get the fuck out of here, man. This is a stupid rule. No one likes Rob. I mean, I don't know him as a dude, but as a commissioner, as his job, he's not doing a very good job. And this rule needs to be absolutely thrown out the window and never discussed and never talked about again before he absolutely ruins the integrity of the game of baseball. I understand that you need to update some things and you want to bring in new fans. I want all new people that watch Major League Baseball. I love it. It's the best sport on the freaking planet. But you can't change the actual integrity of the game by adding this golden at-bat rule. It's not the home run derby. It's real, legit games with things on the line. The game is 160. The season has 162 games. There's so many things that can happen. You're not going to change that by adding this weird golden at-bat rule. You can just bring a guy in who can have another at-bat. The whole point is the game is about strategy and who's going to pitch to who and what pitch here and how is this going to work and long-term planning and what's going to happen in the 7th inning or the 8th inning, who's going to come up, what if we go this way, what if we shift that way. There's so many different intricacies happening that make the game exciting, and you're not going to just add this, excuse my language, horseshit rule that's going to change the integrity of the game. Nobody likes it. Stop. Don't talk about it again. Keep baseball the way it is, but add new things in terms of making the game more exciting, talking about players, showing behind the scenes, like doing all these stuff that give you a better look at who these players are so people get drawn into them as people and want to come watch them play. That's what sports are about. Sports are about this idea of battling adversity, overcoming, seeing people at their best. It's like, the gladiator, like I want to see people at their very best, doing their very best against all odds. It's like why professional wrestling is so great. Like, this is baseball, this is sports, and we can't add this golden at bat rule because we're not 12 years old. We're real Major League Baseball players who are the best in the world at what they do, and you're not going to ruin it by adding this rule. So, Rob, please shut this down. If anyone has any sense, that's what they're telling you. Holy cow. Whew. All right, now let's move on to some acquisitions, some signings. Okay, I'll go day by day. December 7th, we had a really big one. A really big name came off the table. Shortstop Willy Adames and the San Francisco Giants are in agreement on a 7-year, $182 million contract, the largest deal in franchise history, larger than the one that Buster Posey got, and Buster Posey is the one that made this deal. Adames is 29 years old, had a career best 32 home runs and 112 RBI in 2004. Obviously, the deals are always pending physicals, but you assume the guy is healthy, ready to go. He will also receive a $22 million signing bonus in his deal with the Giants. The $182 million guarantee is the third largest free agent contract ever for a Dominican-born player behind Albert Pujols and Robinson Cano, two absolute studs. And I hope this is great for the Giants. They just obviously retired their long-term shortstop. 13 seasons he held that position was Brandon Crawford, and now they have Willy Adames, who can maybe hold that position now for the next 7 years. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully he brings a lot of juice and 30 bombs and over 100 RBI to the Giants, because they have to contend. They have to contend with the Dodgers, and they have to contend with the Padres every year if they want to make the playoffs, if they want to run into the playoffs, if they want to have another World Series run like they did when they won 3 World Series in 6 years. Like, that's an incredible achievement. Buster Posey was a part of that run, and so he's trying to build that type of roster again going into the next couple of seasons, because they already lost Blake Snell. They need a frontline run. They need a frontline starter. Yes, they have Logan Webb, but that's not enough. You need a lot of starters to go deep into the playoffs. So this is a big signing for them. This is a big signing for them, and cheers to that. Hopefully it works out really well and they can compete and they can give the Padres and the Dodgers a run for their money, because the Giants have always had a winning culture. That's what they've created. They've had moving pieces and mixed parts, but they create a winning culture, unlike the Padres, who absolutely do not. Yes, they had a really good year last year and they finally sort of cracked the egg, but they didn't get past the Dodgers. And they haven't yet. And they still have that monkey on their back. And they've spent a lot of money on a lot of players. The Giants have a history of winning. And so they can get it done with a mixture of talent because of the culture and people playing together and what they bring to the table. And so this is a really big signing for them. And hopefully it pans out, right? I just said that he got $182 million, Willy Adames. The Buster Posey deal was $167 million. So Buster Posey doesn't care what money he got. It doesn't matter. He's trying to bring in the best talent to make the Giants the best it can be, like they were when he was on the team and had some of these other studs. Also on December 7th, not as big, but still a big deal. Interesting money he got. The outfielder, Tyler O'Neill, and the Baltimore Orioles are in agreement in a 3-year, $49.5 million contract. Includes an opt-out after the first season. O'Neill, 29, hit also 31 home runs with Boston in 2024. That's an interesting signing for the Baltimore Orioles. I didn't know if Tyler O'Neill was getting that kind of money, but cheers to him, man. You hit 29 home run, or you hit 31 home runs in a season, you're going to get a big time contract. So Baltimore Orioles pick up just a stud outfielder who's also jacked out of his mind, which we love here. Get huge. That's fantastic. So the Orioles picking up some pieces. Don't know if they're going to re-sign Anthony Santander, I think that's his name, and Corbin Burns up in the air too, but they got Holiday, who's going to be a big piece. Obviously, they got Gunnar Henderson, who's the man, and a lot of really good players out there in Orioles, because they do a great job of building players up and having a lot of homegrown talent. And then they add Tyler O'Neill to the mix, who's got speed and pop, and so good for him. And then on December 6th, we saw right-hander Shane Bieber and the Cleveland Guardians are in agreement on a 1-year, $14 million contract that includes a $16 million player option for 2026. Right, Bieber at one point was one of the best pitchers in baseball, Cy Young Award winner, underwent Tommy John surgery in April, and is expected to return in the middle of 2025 to try and help the Cleveland Guardians make a deeper run into the playoffs. Shane Bieber's deal also with the Guardians will pay him a $10 million salary in 2025. The $16 million player option includes a $4 million buyout, right? If Bieber remains healthy, he will hit free agency again next winter as a 30-year-old and be in line for a significant long-term contract, which you think the Guardians might give him but he won't be back until the middle of 2025. He stays healthy, dominates like we've seen him do and able to do. He potentially could have a significant long-term contract, and we could be talking about this next free agency, next winter meetings. Then you have right-hander Clay Holmes, and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 3-year, $38 million contract. What's interesting about this deal is that Mets plan to turn Holmes, who has spent his big league career as a relief pitcher, into a starter. Obviously, not every, but most major league baseball pitchers have the stuff to be starters. It just depends on where they fit, their psyche, their mentality, and where the team needs them. The Mets see him as a starter and want to turn him to that. They bought him for 3 years, $38 million. Good for Clay Holmes. And we'll see, because the Mets want to make a run. You'll see that because they're really, really, really going after Juan Soto with literally everything they have in their tank. And so signing Clay Holmes obviously is a big deal for them. And they want to turn him into a starter and use his nasty stuff in an extended way as a starter. And then on December 2nd, hometown team, Texas Rangers, signed Kyle Higashioka. Sorry for saying your name wrong, Iggy. That's what I'm going to call you, because now you're a Texas Ranger, so you're my boy. Signed a 2-year contract with a mutual option for 2027. The Rangers already have an all-star catcher in Jonah Heim, and as things stand right now, as I've seen Rangers talk about, they're thinking that Jonah Heim and Iggy will get equal playing time until one of the backstop just emerges as the primary starter. So whoever that could be, Jonah Heim's got to stay healthy. Iggy's a great player, played with the Padres last year, so he's got playoff experience as well. Obviously, Jonah Heim's a World Series champion and an all-star, and so we'll see. We'll see who can play better defense, has better control of the pitching staff, has better framing, and also who can fucking hit. Because who's going to hit, that's going to be in the lineup. But also your catcher has to have a really good relationship, with the pitching staff. And a lot of pitchers will ask for a certain catcher because they feel more comfortable with him, the way he calls pitches, the way he frames, the way he moves, just the in syncness of the pitcher and the catcher. And so that has a lot to do also with playing time as well. But when you're riding someone in the lineup, when Bruce Bochy is riding someone into the lineup, is who's going to hit, who's going to deliver when you need it. Because at this level, most of the catchers, there are some catchers who are way better than others in terms of framing, receiving, taking strikes away, throwing guys out, things like that. But majority of the time, that sort of skill level is about the same, because you're not going to catch in the major leagues unless you can get that stuff done. But usually the guy who can hit is going to stay in the lineup a little bit more, because that's usually something that catchers don't have as often, right? That's why some guys like Pudge Rodriguez were incredible. Guy was hitting 30 home runs a season and one of the best catchers, right? And that's why Jonah Heim has been playing a lot, because he can swing it, or he's been able to figure out how to swing it later in his career. And so we'll see who emerges as the primary starter heading into probably the second half of the season, maybe heading into the All-Star break. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see what sort of relationship Higgy can build with the Rangers pitching staff, because Jonah Heim already has a good one, but can he build a better relationship or a different relationship? And the best player is going to play. That's just how it works in the cutthroat sort of competitive industry and business of Major League Baseball or professional sports. And then on December 3rd, we had left-handed reliever Aroldis Chapman and the Boston Red Sox are in agreement on a 1-year, $10.75 million contract pending a physical. Boston sought left-handed help for its bullpen and lands a 36-year-old Chapman. I feel like he just changes teams every year, and like he's still a little bit wild. He was pretty pivotal in the Rangers World Series run a couple years ago. Not a couple years ago. Dodgers just won it, and then last year the Rangers won it. But like every time he came in, the dude was drenched in sweat, and everyone watching him pitch was drenched in sweat because we were so nervous. He usually walked a guy, hit a guy, bases were loaded, 2 outs. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And then in that playoff run, he got it done. He gave up some crucial bombs too, but he also got some big time outs, and he just seems to find a way on a team every year, right? I still think he can throw 100 miles an hour. He hasn't really developed an off-speed pitch ever. If he could, that would be great. He also doesn't have pinpoint accuracy. If he did, that would be great. But sometimes when you throw 100, it works. But sometimes he also gets his tits lit, and obviously the Boston Red Sox think he's going to be an added good addition to their bullpen as a left-hander, so they gave him $10.7 million for 1 year. And then you have another pitching signing. You have right-hander Frankie Montas, and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 2-year, $34 million contract pending, of course, a physical. Montas was 31, threw 150.2 innings with a 4.84 ERA with Cincinnati and Milwaukee last year. he is the first piece of the new Mets rotation. I don't know. I think they overpaid for that in terms of a 4.84 ERA, getting 2 years, $34 million contracts. So the Mets are trying to rebuild that rotation with Montas. And then I mentioned with Clay Holmes being converted to a starter. So those are sort of the pieces they're trying to put in that puzzle to make sure that they can get back into the playoffs and make some damage this year. And then you had a really big signing coming for the Oakland A's, who are no longer going to be the Oakland A's after a couple years. They're freaking going to Las Vegas, I think. I think it said that their stadium will be done in 2028, and they're going to play in a minor league ballpark in Sacramento for the next couple years. But they made a huge signing with right-hander Luis Severino, and the A's are in agreement for 3 years, $67 million contract. It's the largest guarantee in the history of the A's franchise. And even with the qualifying offer attached, Severino got well over market expectations. And Luis Severino's deal with the A's includes an opt-out after the second season. Per sources, the A's went into this winter seeking pitching, and they got Severino, apparently one of the best on the market, whose career earnings are now up to $130 million. Free agent pitching prices remain high. Like you see this with Severino. I just talked about with Montas, who had a 4.84 ERA, but still got $34 million. And so pitching is always a premium. Like pitching does win championships, and you're willing to spend a little extra money on guys who you think can get outs for you, especially as front-end starters or your second and third starter or back-end relievers to get outs late in games. These guys are always going to be crucial for World Series runs because pitching can be the most consistent thing you have on your roster. Hitting kind of fluctuates. It comes and goes. Talk about it all the time. You see it with the Phillies almost every single year in the playoffs. They have just this powerful lineup, but they don't have guys who like consistently get on base. And so it's hard for them to create havoc on the base pass and things like that. They just have a lot of high pop, big home run guys. And sometimes they go fucking cold. And then you have Zach Wheeler, who throws 7 innings of baseball and has no run support, and the Phillies lose, and then they're out of the playoffs, even though they should, at this point, have to have won a World Series. Their team is just too good. And so you see that. But you also see that pitching and defense really can be the most consistent things as a baseball team. And so you want to really have that in spades. And then you want to have a couple guys who consistently get on base, who have high on base percentage, who might be able to steal a few bags. And then obviously your guys who are going to drive runs in late in the game. And then you have every guy in a major league hitting lineup can hit a home run, but you guys have hit more home runs consistently than others. I mean, you saw the Dodgers had Tommy Edman just blow out of his absolutely have a monster postseason when no one expected that. That's what usually has to happen when you make a World Series run. Guys who you don't expect just coming fucking clutch. Like Kiki Hernandez still has a job in Major League Baseball because he's dominating in the playoffs, because he comes up clutch in the playoffs. You remember David Freese in that amazing 2011 World Series run he had with the Cardinals, where he basically beat every team single-handedly, the Rangers, the Giants, right? He just beat them single-handedly. He got paid for the next 6 years after that and didn't do anything. But the St. Louis Cardinals absolutely love David Freese because he won us that World Series. And so what you do in the playoffs really matters. And you're always going to have these guys who step up the playoffs. And if you don't have guys step up in the playoffs, you're not going to go late into it and you're not going to win. And the Phillies continually don't have guys step up in the playoffs. And so you really want to have a solid pitching staff, a great bullpen, and because this can be the most consistent thing to keep you in the games. And then you have that late magic or that random guy who pops in who just absolutely crushes it, and things of that nature are going to propel you past these teams who are also really good and into a World Series championship. And then the last thing we'll talk about is, of course, the guy, on the free agency market who's going to get all of the money in baseball is Juan Soto. You still do have, and I'm sure this information will come out very soon in the winter meetings, if Corbin Burns is still available and Alex Bregman is still available and Max Fried is still available. Those are 3 huge names, amazing baseball players who are going to make a big difference everywhere they go. But we know that Soto is going to make the biggest difference of all time. Just like Shohei Ohtani did last year, first year with the Dodgers, they go to the World Series, right? Soto goes to the Yankees, first year with them, him and Judge freaking crush it, they go to the World Series. Where's he going to go? It's really tight race between 4 teams right now, which are the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays. According to a few sources, those are the top 4 teams in the running. And as of December 7th, the price tag for Soto continues to rise. The bidding for Soto appears to have reached record territory. According to MLB Network insider John Heyman in an article for the New York Post, at least, again, 4 teams, as I said, the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Blue Jays, are in the neighborhood of $700 million. And 2 of them, the Yankees and Mets, are above that market in the range of 710 and 730 million. Whoa. So USA Today's Bob Nightingale reports that Soto's deal could reach $750 million. Wow. Right? You know, Hyman reports that the Mets are believed to have the highest offer on the table, though all 4 are within shouting distance. So no one really knows yet. But the Mets are really going for it. Again, like I said, they already signed those 2 pitchers, and they're going hard for Juan Soto because they probably will lose Pete Alonso this year. Again, I forgot to mention him as a name on the list because you have Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso are all available. I don't know if Pete Alonso is going to stay with the Mets, but they're absolutely running hard for Juan Soto because you had the two-way superstar Shohei Ohtani set a record when he signed that 10-year, $700 million deal with the Dodgers late offseason, though deferrals reduced like the present-day value of the contract significantly. I don't know if Juan Soto is going to get that same deferred deal, but the Dodgers are believed behind in the bidding, but haven't been eliminated from the group of finalists yet. So you have those 4 teams in the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Blue Jays, but the Dodgers are never too far away because they got money, and I guess they can just defer every contract for the rest of time. So in like 30-30, they're still fucking paying for Ohtani and Soto's contract after they've won like 12 World Series and all this, whatever. You know, it's kind of interesting. But that's the Juan Soto stuff. And then you got those 4 other guys who are going to be big players in Burns, Fried, Bregman, and Alonso are going to make big impacts wherever they go. And so that's the news surrounding MLB free agency right now. And winter meeting's about to start. Juan Soto's deal could happen tonight, tomorrow. It's believed to maybe happen Monday. So when we do this show next week, I will inform you of all of that. And I'm sure you'll see it everywhere. It'll be posted all over the internet. But we'll talk about it, talk about what team he gets, what impact he's going to have, and things of that nature. If he stays with the Yankees, we know what impact he's going to have. If he moves to the Mets, depends on what situation is there, who's behind him, who's in front of him, what's the lineup. All those things matter in terms of if you're going to pitch to Juan Soto or not and allow him to be the player that we've seen him be as one of the best hitters we've ever seen in Major League Baseball at already such a young age. And so it's really cool to see that. $750 million is a lot just to play baseball. Don't know if I agree with that, but that's the market value. That is what it is. And that's where we're at in terms of contracts. So those are some of the free agencies. We'll keep track of everything else as we move through the week, and we'll update you on our next Champions Adjust Sports Talk show. But to round us out for this week's show, WWE. Love it. Got to have it. Not a lot of news for WWE this week because all this other stuff was very, very interesting. But like I said in the very first episode of this show, Mike Tyson is still a draw when it comes to WWE and pretend fights. And so he fought Jake Paul in the boxing match. Now that was disgusting. There's rumors that at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, WWE is trying to set something up for Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a WWE superstar. He's got some skill. He's got some charisma. He's very athletic and all that stuff. And since Mike Tyson already fought Jake Paul in a pretend predetermined boxing match, why not have him fight Logan Paul in an actual WWE contest where we can keep Mike safe? He's absolutely a draw. And let's have Mike just keep working for something, have him something to do, a vision, a mission, a purpose. Love that for Mike Tyson, and might as well utilize his star power at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Mike Tyson versus Logan Paul. Just a rumor. Don't know if it's going to happen, but figured I'd share with you now as we're just a few months away from April, right? Because we're in December. April's not that far away. The Rock might be there. John Cena is going to be there. It's going to be a massive WrestleMania, especially in Las Vegas. And I got some friends who are going to go out there, namely Tanner, my boy, my wrestling buddy, is going to go out there. And I just want to correct a mistake I made, because when I was watching wrestling, they were called pay-per-views. Then I became a wrestler, and then I stopped being a fan of wrestling, and now I'm back in it because I want to talk about it. I love it. I think pro wrestling is the fucking coolest thing in the world. I also made a video about that. It'll be dropping soon about why wrestling is so cool and that you should watch it. But I won't give you that pitch now. Wait for the video to come out and then you can watch it. But it's not a pay-per-view anymore. It's a PLE. It's a premium live event because they're all streamed for free on whatever platform you subscribe to. Right now it's Peacock. In the new year, it'll be Netflix, but they're premium live events. Love that. So the next premium live event for WWE is Saturday night's main event on December 14th. And right now, I think there's only 3 matches that have been announced for that show, and there's some big time matches. We'll go over a couple of them right now. One being Gunther versus Finn Balor, right? That's happening because at Survivor Series, Finn Balor interfered. He did the double stomp to Damian Priest, and then Gunther just absolutely waffled his face, which was awesome. Not sure why he needed to appear in there. I know there's a ton of history with Finn Balor and Damian Priest and all that. Still catching up on some of that history. But that's going to be a really good match. Finn Balor also is one of the best professional wrestlers on the planet. Been that way for a really long time. Gunther is much bigger, much stronger than him. So you'll see Finn Balor probably utilize some speed, some quickness, and his members of his team to try and take that championship away from Gunther because it is for the World Heavyweight Championship. But my prediction is that Gunther is going to retain. I'm biased towards Gunther. That's my boy. We worked together and wrestled together when we were in Germany for WXW. But Gunther is going to dominate him. I think Finn Balor's obviously going to have a good showing. He's sneaky. He's fast. He's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. He'll find a way to try and break down Gunther. But I think Gunther overall is going to retain his World Heavyweight Championship. And we also might see potentially an interference from Damian Priest. I don't know what that's going to lead to, but I think Finn Balor and Damian Priest need to sort of end that. And so it's been rumored that Finn Balor might have a massive singles push in 2025. So this might be the start of that singles push. He could potentially, obviously, dethrone Gunther. I just don't think that's going to happen, but it could. They're going to have an amazing match, so it could propel him into that singles push that's been rumored to happen, and we'll see. Then you have Liv Morgan versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. Io Sky is incredible. Liv Morgan, really good. Like, this got so much better over the last few years, is really working hard on her craft and becoming her own person and like dominating her character and winning a world championship. And like, kudos to Liv Morgan. Io Sky, crush, like super athletic, can pretty much do anything in a professional wrestling ring. That's going to be an awesome match. But I think Liv Morgan is going to retain because I still think she's working through her feud with Ripley, and then we'll go from there with that Women's World Championship match. And then you have the most intriguing match and feud that's going on in WWE right now, maybe outside of the Bloodline versus the original Bloodline. But that stuff is very interesting because some of those guys got hurt at Survivor Series, so you don't really know where that's going to go, what CM Punk's going to do, where The Rock is interjecting, how Roman Reigns is going to take stuff, and some of those guys got hurt, and so I don't know where that's going. And so that's still an interesting feud heading into Royal Rumble, heading into WrestleMania. All that stuff is going to be very intriguing and how that all plays out and what matches are going to happen. Then you have John Cena coming back in January. This is all really, really exciting stuff. But Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens have put on an absolutely clinic in terms of drawing fans in, creating a great storyline, and having people really, really care about what's happening. I mean, Kevin Owens just does that. He just has this authenticity about him that is absolutely magnetic, and he just believes everything that he's doing to a T. And the story arc of him not hitting the knee, then coming back and doing it on Friday Night SmackDown is just like a great thing. And I think Cody Rhodes is going to retain, but I think he's going to have to do some nasty shit to get it done. And that might be fans seeing a little bit of his darker side, because you have to sort of do that if you want to beat someone who's willing to do anything like Kevin Owens is to take that strap away from you. And potentially we could see the return of Randy Orton, who suffered a neck injury when he got pile driven by Kevin Owens. It was an illegal move because it's very dangerous, and many people have gotten hurt off that move. And I don't know how Randy Orton is doing. He's probably recovering still, but potentially if he's back ready to go and healthy and his neck is healed, he could potentially be the person who cost Kevin Owens the title. Then I don't know, Rhodes moves on to something else heading into WrestleMania season, which is Rumble and all of that. And you could see an absolutely monster feud between Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, which would be absolutely amazing. Don't know if that's going to happen, but that's a potential rumor as well. But I think overall, regardless of which direction they go, I think Cody Rhodes is going to retain his strap and carry it all the way into WrestleMania in whatever sort of feud he might be in. And so, but that's really good stuff. Kevin Owens is the fucking man. And so is Cody Rhodes. So that's a great feud, great match. Can't wait to watch that. that PLE live, and then the next day give you guys my preview and review about that. But I think that's all I have for you this week on the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. This is episode number 3. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it very much. Questions, comments, concerns, hit me with them. If you have any other opinions or you disagree with my take, let me know. I'd love to hear it. And if you enjoyed it at all, and you got a friend who might enjoy some sports takes, some NFL, some college football, some MLB, some WWE, send them links, send them everything you know about this episode, have them watch it, listen to it, and then come check it out every week. And again, this episode is sponsored by Champions Adjust. If you go to champsadjust.com, everything you need is there, from mindset classes, online courses, to apparel. But that's enough self-promotion. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.